Chris, it's about cash. That's what it's about.
You described the fight in and of itself as one of the best you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Everything about the narrative, the sentimentality, all of the scale and legacy was about their dads. Isn't it a bit of hypocrisy to say, I don't want to be under my father's jurisdiction. I want to be my own man.
Chris is a world level middleweight. Chris is.
You can have a world title shot. To me, that is a disgrace. The WBC shouldn't be allowed to do that. This is a tough fight for Johnny Fisher, because you're right, he showed a lot of character.
He did.
But, you know, is that enough?
I'm going to go Fisher.
No, I'm not. I'm going Davies.
This is the same Frank Warren that's complaining about the judging from Steve Gray, that was more than happy with the refereed Hamza Shiraz knocking down Bradley Skeet and punching him on the floor.
It's horrendous.
It was horrendous what happened to Bradley Skeet. But they are speaking, apparently, about a potential fight between Moses Atuma and Martin Bakole.
He is an exceptional talent, but you can't be walking around at 300 pounds.
I'm going on the Bakole that fought Jared Anderson 284.
He's not around no more, though, is
284. He can get that. 299, he can get down to 284.
Welcome to episode 120 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. Joining us today is the voice of boxing from DAZN and also the biggest PR advocate for the Eubank Benn fight, Ade Oladipo, and the new British cruiserweight champion, Viddal Riley. Nice to see you, boys. Thanks for joining us.
Lovely introduction, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, you're welcome.
That was better than yours.
Yeah, you're welcome. Much to my eternal chagrin, and at the request of the producers, we shall dive deep into Eubank Benn again. The rematch. We all know it's happening. We all know it's coming. And one of the people that observed on it was someone that spoke to you two guys last week, which was Carl Frampton. Before I get into what you guys have to say about it, let's listen to what Carl had to say about it.
Is that a fight that, if you're Chris Eubank, you should be running to again?
If you're Chris Eubank, I would say yes, because of his age, and because of, I mean, it's about money at this stage of your career. If you're Conor Benn, on the other hand, I would say stay away from it. I just don't think you want to be involved in too many fights like that. And Conor Benn still has a chance to become a legitimate world champion in the welterweight or light middleweight division. So I think he should focus on that. He'll make a bag of money if he fights Chris Eubank again. Both of them will. But they already made a bag in their first fight. So how much money do you need? You know, it's one of them ones. I think if Conor Benn and his team are sensible, I think maybe avoid the rematch. He could win the rematch, but it's going to be a hard fight.
Okay, straight out of the gate, Viddal, what's your observations on what Carl's just said and described?
I agree with him. 100%. I think he was right in what he said. Conor Benn does have the chance to become a legitimate world champion and have a different phase to his career to what he's had. Chris, it's about cash. That's what it's about. At this time, not that he's in need for cash, but everyone wants more. So if you can get two big money fights back to back against someone you know you're more than capable of beating, you've proven you can beat them, why not take it again? For Conor, it's about the long road, about the mileage, about how you're going to feel in a year's time, 2 years' time. Where do you want to go in your career? What do you see as the final picture? Loaded, or made the decisions to take me on the world champion route and still end up loaded?
You want to pick up on that, Ade?
Yeah, look,
you described the fight in and of itself as one of the best you've ever seen.
Yeah.
By what metric, just out of curiosity?
Just seeing two guys, and look, I know where you're getting at in terms of, is it English level, British level, European world? Removing that, just seeing a fight where from round 1 to round 12, both guys don't let off, and it's punches and bunches. It's kind of what you want from a casual observer point of view. Yes, it's not skill for skill, it's not Bivol Peterbiev. To an extent, it even wasn't Viddal Riley against Chev Clark, but you're just seeing two guys going at it from round 1 to round 12, where I thought there's definitely going to be a let-off, there's definitely going to be someone deciding, okay, it's a bit too much, let's take it easy. Just action-packed, I was gripped. And having been ringside for so many fights, I've not been gripped.
I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, I've not been gripped.
To put it in as one of the best fights, I think is a stretch. Let's hear from Chris Eubank Jr. himself talking to talkSPORT about the rematch.
Do you see another fight with Conor Benn in your future, or do you feel that conversation is now closed?
It's up to the public.
Huh. You know, if it's up to the public, it's happening, isn't it?
Well, you know, I guess what we do as private fighters is we fight for the people. You know, if the people want to see something, we provide. That's the job of a fighter. From what I'm hearing, people want to see a rematch. If that is the case, then I will do everything in my power to oblige.
I think that's remarkably magnanimous of Chris to go into a huge money fight and do it all to oblige us all. This fight's happening, right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, let's accept the principles of it. When I met Turki Al-Sheikh before the fight, Sellout had already said they had the rematch. So it's a done deal, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look, it's a done deal.
Can you see a different outcome? Can you see a different outcome?
It depends what's in the contracts. As in, if there's no rehydration clause, then Chris Eubank Jr. wins. But I was so concerned with him making that 160. It's clearly come to the end of that. The struggles are too much for him to keep making that weight, and we saw that. It was, you know,
well, he doesn't have to make it. He can take the benefit of not being paid $1 million for the rehydration clause.
Absolutely. So look, I think that it depends on rehydration clauses if they can get rid of that, and I think that Eubank will only go into the rematch if they get rid of the rematch.
Do you think the spectacle? Because I mean,
what did you make of it? The fight? Did you think?
I think it was a great fight for what it was.
Right.
I'm not surprised by what it was.
Would the second fight be bigger?
I'm not surprised that Conor Benn performed at a high level. I actually thought that Conor Benn might stop Chris Eubank.
Do you think the second fight will be bigger?
Well, I don't see how it can be unless there's something they can imagine. The narratives that we've wrung every last piece of nostalgia, every last piece of sentimentality, every last reveal out of the equation.
What we got that we didn't know before that was that the guys delivered in the ring a sensational fight, so that's why the second fight will be bigger than the first.
You guys, I mean, again,
you think so? You think the second fight will be bigger than... No.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was the perfect storm.
The boxing fan would want to see it again. You know, when we look into it and I'm going, look, I don't want to see it because, you know, from a selfish perspective, of course I want to see that again, but when you look at Eubank making 160 and putting his health at risk and all that sort of stuff, I go, that's why I don't want to see it. Let him go to...
Well, they should let him rehydrate back up, shouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They should do that.
Off the table. But it can be off the table.
That was a great fight.
Yeah, but I almost feel like it was the perfect storm of events. From the egg slap, from the 2.5-year build-up, from the Chris Eubank Sr. reveal. You're not going to get all that again.
You're not going to get that.
And that reveal and the egg slap and everything else made it just one that even people that I know don't like boxing were like, okay, I'm intrigued, I need to watch.
But won't
that intrigue's gone.
Won't that carry over and then they go, look at what they delivered in the ring, we want to see it again?
It could. I believe it could. But I think one main thing that's not on the, headlines of news is when you talk to people about their relationship with their parents, they link it a lot to that show, which I was surprised about. People I called my dad as soon as I left the arena.
Because Eubank said that, didn't he?
He said that. People I've spoken to personally was like, I called my dad, I texted him straight
But as
away.
a spectacle, which was the big
amazing.
translation, wasn't it, which people said it crossed over. I mean, there's only so many times he's going to tell Barry Hearn's son to shut up at a press conference, isn't there? There's only so many times we're going to be able to hear Chris Eubank creating a different narrative. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Diary of a CEO interview that Chris did with Stephen Bartlett. And I found myself, I am very impressed with Chris. I don't agree with some of the things he says, and I don't agree with the fact that he's not fought for world titles and made it more about money than it has been about the sport when we've had to listen to him saying he wants to fight for world titles. But I came away with some questions that I wanted to put to you guys and see what you thought of it. Because he makes this big deal, Chris, about the fact that he does not respect Conor Benn. He will not go into this ring with this guy respecting him because he's a cheat. But he's chasing the Canelo fight.
He's chasing money. He's not chasing the Canelo fight.
I know where you go.
But he's chasing the Canelo fight. He's told us repeatedly, if we're going to hold him by his own word, that he wants to fight Canelo. He wants Canelo. He wants Canelo. So why doesn't he hold Canelo to the same standard of contempt that he holds Conor Benn to? Because whether Canelo comes up with some nonsense about it was meat that he ate, Conor Benn, which by the way wasn't Conor Benn ever said, was contamination of eggs. So why is Conor Benn being treated in a different way to Canelo?
Because it's Canelo.
Because it's the scale of money.
Yeah, it's the scale of money.
And we don't know if there's not a fight signed with Canelo. We don't know if, and you know how smart Chris is, we don't know when the press conference happens. Say a press conference happens with Canelo and Chris. If Chris doesn't bring that to the fore, I think he will. I think he will call Canelo a cheat. I think he will bring all these things out. And as you say, it's Canelo and he's chasing the money. He's 35, he's chasing the biggest paychecks regardless of what these people...
The other thing I wanted your guys' opinion on as well was I have listened to, and I've done shows with his dad, one-on-ones with his father, and I've spoken to Chris. I don't think Chris is hugely keen to interact with me too much because I've been critical, but that's his perspective. That's his perspective. Yeah, and I called it to his face. Yeah. right? And if you're going to say something, have the balls to say it to someone rather than say it about them, right? But we talked about this. He had the right to step out of his father's shadow. Senior wanted to constantly be the omnipotent presence, right? And he made the point in this Stephen Bartlett interview about, I was right to want to step out, and I make him right. So then why was everything about fathers in this fight then? Because everything about the narrative, the sentimentality, all of a scale, a legacy, was about their dads. Isn't it a bit of hypocrisy to say, I don't want to be under my father's jurisdiction, I want to be my own man, I served my father a letter on that basis, but by the way, I want everyone to know whose son I am, and I want my father at the event, and I want everybody to know that the legacy of my father's is a big part of it.
I think
am I wrong? Viddal?
It's a good point. What you're making is a good point. But how I see it is, I think he literally is conflicted between the two. As the son, he does want to be known as an individual, but you love what your dad has done and the opportunity he's provided you with. It literally is a line where it's like, I do want to be known as separate to you, but I'm not going to dismiss what you've done, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be who I am. So it's literally a line there that does create what you're saying, conflict, but not from a place of, you know, it's just natural. I think it just happens.
Mate, you know, I think it was that whole thing, that whole journey that they went through from the beginning there, and I think that Conor Benn then latched on with, look at the relationship me and my dad have got, and the relationship you and your, and it was clearly fractured, their relationship, and that was true, and it had been fractured for a number of years. And I think that whole thing there was the genius behind all of that, with having the father there at the end. That was the thing where you saw that shot with Conor Benn and his dad standing in the dressing room. Chris Eubank Jr. gets out of the car. No one knew even 24 hours before. That was not a set-up. No one knew that he was coming there. He gets out and everyone's like, wow. You can imagine if that's Conor Benn.
Do you think he came
down that.
Here's a slightly controversial statement. Do you think Chris Eubank Sr. came purely for goodwill? No incentives? I mean, I saw he had quite a few meetings.
I think he come for his son.
No incentives there.
I think he was there for his son.
I think it's a good question. Because, I mean, let's be honest, those interviews with Seconds Out and IFL TV where he called his son a disgrace and he would never back him, that wasn't acting. It's clearly an 11th hour swing for him to get there. And whether he's been incentivised, if you like, to come, I guess no one will know. But, you know, to answer the question about Chris and his dad, in the last couple of years, he has kind of gone out of his dad's shadow because his dad's not been there. You think of those Liam Smith fights. But this fight almost, unfortunately, it's the names that have sold this fight.
It is.
And you needed Senior there.
Which is part of the reasons why I've pushed back against it, because I did admire the fights. When I watched it on the Sunday morning,
but Simon, they've got to deliver. So ultimately, even if it's the dads that have sold it, the sons have got to deliver, and they put on a better fight than 1990 Ben Eubank and 1993 Ben Eubank. I thought that fight...
Do you agree with that?
I thought that fight was actually better.
I don't agree with that.
I think you're stretching credibility there.
No, it was a better fight.
They put a better fight than 1993, but not 1990. Forget 1990.
Yeah.
I don't think you can touch the 1990.
It's because there was no knockdown. It was because there was no knockdown. And we have this... You know,
because they're not world-level fighters. The reasons why you can't draw parallels between their fathers' fights is because both of their fathers were world-level fighters. And these two guys, with respect, you've got a yet-to-be-determined welterweight, and we've got a aging super middleweight.
Simon, I believe, you know what? Chris is a world-level middleweight. Chris is.
Yeah,
okay. Chris is a world-level middleweight. And I think I saw enough from Conor. If he can make 147, that it will cause a lot of problems to a lot of the so-called world-level 147 guys. Not Boots, but the Ryan Garcias, the Devin Haney's of the world. Conor can cause them problems. Not saying he can beat them, but
he could probably beat Mario Barrios, right?
He'll beat Barrios.
But now we've got this nonsense from this absurd, obscene organisation, WBC, that are now going to drag an ageing, antiquated 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, install him in the rankings and put him in a world title fight against Barrios. Well, come on.
That's a disgrace. The WBC doing that is a disgrace. You can't go off merit, and this guy's an 8-weight world champion. He's been retired for 4 years, and against Ugas, he looked the shell of his former fighter, and you go, let now sail off into the sunset and leave your legacy right where it is, at the top as one of the best fighters of all time. And you go, now allowing the WBC saying, what, you want to come out of retirement? Yeah. All right, you can have a world title shot. To me, that is a disgrace. The WBC shouldn't be allowed to do that. It shouldn't, because all these fighters have worked their way to get into this place, this spot, to get this opportunity. You know this, Viddal. As a kid, it's your childhood dream.
At least an eliminator.
Come on.
If you're going to do something crazy, throw Manny Pacquiao in for a final elimination.
No.
Come on.
If you're going to do
based
something
on what
crazy,
he's achieved.
Yeah, if you're going to do something crazy,
Previously.
give him an exhibition fight like we saw with Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, what Floyd's
Well,
done.
didn't he had an exhibition
and he didn't
fight,
look great.
and he looked
look
terrible, not
That
great.
guy was good.
I think it's a disgraceful decision from Mauricio Solomon in the WBC.
I agree.
Disgraceful.
I agree.
mean, he's been out the ring 4 years. He's won one fight in 6 years. And I don't think Barrios is, by any stretch of the imagination, one of the best welterweights. But the fact is, he's a world champion, and he's young and he's fresh. And look, Manny Pacquiao
we saw the last version of Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, and look, Manny Pacquiao obviously has financial issues. He tried to become president of the Philippines, which would have taken a lot of his money away. And maybe they're throwing him a bone saying, look, go and make some money. But I think the WBC needs to look at themselves strongly if they're going to do that.
I agree. I agree. So this weekend live on DAZN, we have the rematch, much awaited rematch between Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen at the Copper Box. What did you make of the first fight, Viddal?
I thought it was a wake-up call for Johnny. Everyone has those fights in their professional career where you are under the lights and you realise this guy does this. He's been doing it. He's comfortable here. He doesn't feel the nerves that I feel. He's a fighter. And I think Johnny felt that on that day. Showed a lot of heart, showed that he's not going to bow down or quit when it is rough. Whatever I do have, I will use, which is priceless. You can have elite skill and not have that trait. And in this game, in the professional game, you need that trait. So Dave Allen definitely was hard done by on that day. And I think Johnny's going to have an amazing rematch against him.
Now, given you're likely to have the ear of the Fisher family, Spence, what changes do you think Johnny's got to make in this fight to get a better outcome?
I think firstly, not thinking you just got to turn up to win because your mindset's all wrong. And I think that he felt that. He went in there, he started throwing bombs early, maybe punched himself up a little bit too much early on. And then when he was inside, he was too loose inside and he was switching off. And that is a key factor against someone like Dave Allen, who's very clever on the inside. He's very cute. He knows the game, Dave Allen. And these little uppercuts and those hooks and that right hook that got him in that fifth round was that was the turning point of the fight. And Johnny kept making the same fundamental mistakes. So I think that there's not a lot he has to change, but there's certain things that are so important. And the difference between winning and losing, and that is not switching off when you get inside, not just loading up with every single shot flowing, being a little bit more creative, trying to find the openings, because Dave Allen is a very cute fighter, very smart fighter, underestimated fighter. And because of the success that he had there, Dave, you know that he'd have been training even harder going into this one. This is a tough fight for Johnny Fisher, because you're right, he showed a lot of character.
He did.
But, is that enough?
No, it's not enough, no.
Sorry, you go on, Viddal.
Yeah, no, the character won't be enough.
Yeah.
He's going to have to clean up those fundamental errors that we saw in the first. I think Johnny is going to have a very good performance, but it still won't be easy. It won't be easy. I think Dave is going to try and even build off what he done in the first fight. Because Dave's personality, he's like, I'll do it, it's cool. Then once he gets that thing, like, no, actually, it's going to be harder for Johnny.
Who'd you have won in the first fight, Ade?
Dave.
Did you?
Yeah, Dave, maybe by a couple of rounds. He just weathered the storm. And I think I was at Johnny's last fight prior to that at the Copper Box. We fought Babic and sort of finished Babic in about 20 seconds.
Yeah, that was very
And
good.
he needs to understand that in the heavyweight division, some people can take those punches. And Dave's able to soak it up and he's able to kind of ride those shots where he's not taking the full effect. And just needs to work on his fitness as well, because he was blowing after sort of 3 or 4 rounds. And I think he's
what are you expecting? Obviously we saw Dave Allen, the re-emergence of Dave Allen after other fights when we thought we'd seen the Fraser Clark fight. Yeah. We thought we'd seen that was it, Dave Allen. People were becoming concerned about the fact that he was putting himself in the way of harm. What are you expecting to see from Dave Allen in this fight now, given the fact that he knows what he's been in with? There's an injustice as far as he's concerned. I think most people think, and I know that you guys got yourself in a bit of hot water, you and Gareth, by the nature of your reaction to it, but I think you were right in your underlying observations. Mm-hmm. How do you think Dave Allen's going to perform in this rematch?
Better. Honestly, I expect him to be a lot fitter. I think he went into that first fight almost second-guessing himself a little bit as well. Like, what do I have left? As you say, he's been through the mill, Dave Allen, and we've always never been concerned with his boxing ability. Sometimes it's his mental state. But where is Dave? Is he up for it or is he not? And I think he found something out about himself in that fight, where he's like, I've actually still got it. Like, and the fitness is there. So I expect him to be a lot fitter. But this is in the backyard of Johnny Fisher. He's going to have that place just sold out with just Bosch Army, and they will help him get through the tough times in this fight. So I expect Johnny to look excellent. Honestly, I expect him to look as good as he can be. Yeah. And I think that's going to be a bit too much for Dave on the night.
So you're going to go Fisher. You're going to go Fisher. Try and redeem yourself with a Fisher family.
No, I'm not. I'm going Dave. I don't think that. Yeah, home advantage plays a big part of it, but trust me, when you've got a guy with. You're right, Dave Allen's going to be better in this fight. Everyone's talking about Johnny Fisher and how he changes this and how he wins the fight. Dave Allen, like I say, is very cute on the inside. And I just think styles make fights, and Dave Allen's style is all wrong for Johnny Fisher, and that's why I think he'll be more improved going into this.
I wonder about Dave's ambition sometimes. I wonder
off the back of that. Yeah, it's going to be there. That's my point.
Okay. But you know what? I think sometimes things just happen on a particular day. You know, like even Dave having that performance on that day.
Was that his night?
That was the night. If he was going to get justice, it probably was on that day.
So you think, day after you think Fisher's going to win as well?
Yeah, I think sometimes you just miss it.
Thought I deserved the decision, but I didn't get it. We move on, and hopefully it happens again.
I can see why people would go with Dave winning it, and I'll have to be prepared for an even better Dave Allen next time.
His ceiling's been shown now.
And Dave Allen here is upsetting the odds.
He's lucky the fight never got stopped. I'm surprised he got the dub.
Most people felt that Dave Allen nicked it by a point, but it's one round away from a different decision.
Right, you guys, don't miss Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen 2 this Saturday, live only at DAZN. Sign up at DAZN.com/boxing. Let's move on to a brilliant fight on the weekend. Anthony Cacace and Leigh Wood. You were in Nottingham, you were there, Spence, this weekend. Top performance from Cacace, wasn't it?
Absolutely, top performance from Leigh Wood as well. He showed so much character in there. But you had two guys there, although they're both 36 years of age. There's one guy in there that's a lot older in boxing terms, and that's Leigh Wood. And Cacace, I mean, you look at the work that he was doing here. He's got these really exceptionally long arms, but he works so well on the inside as well. And those little short shots, the uppercuts that he was throwing, and the shots around the sides of the body, that was the deciding factor in the contest. He just started breaking Leigh Wood down shot by shot, and it systematically done him in the end. And it was with the short shots, but it was a courageous performance from Leigh Wood. I mean, he showed character, man, and he hung in there, but the body shots as well were
Do you think there was a case for the referee to stop it rather than towel coming in from Ben?
Well, the referee was just about to stop it anyway, and Ben sort of run up. It was great, great corner work from Ben. I think he got the timing perfect on that by throwing the flag in, but I think the referee looked like he was just about to stop it as well. There was a couple of times there where he was just about to jump in and let it go because we know the character of Wood, and we've seen it there.
Yeah,
but
resilience,
the timing was perfect on that. But what a performance, what a fight by both guys.
Do you think, without taking anything away from Cacace, that stepping up a weight class at the same time as being out for 18 months was a massive disadvantage for Leigh Wood?
That was always going to be a problem. It was always going to be difficult to step up, especially with the smaller guys. When you step up those weights, you feel that. You need to grow into it, and he clearly looked the smaller of the two.
But the ring rust, because the Cacace was timing him all the time, wasn't he? He's timing him all the time.
Yeah, I spoke to Cacace immediately after the fight in the ring, and he was honest as well. He said, look, that's not the best Leigh Wood I beat. He knows that as well.
And I love that. Both of those fighters were remarkably elegant and gracious in the way that they spoke to one another. It's so rare.
Yeah, very. And look, 19 months out of the ring, and it's not just stepping up against Cacace. Cacace is basically a lightweight. Honestly, I've been around lightweights, and he's as big as them. He's a big guy. He's a big guy, big shoulders, as you say, really long levers. Yeah. And although he's 36, he's a fresh 36. Yeah. I can't think of any war that he's actually been in. No. And he hits harder than his record suggests. Like his record now says 9 knockouts. I spoke to Carl Frampton after the fight, and Carl said, look, I've sparred him, and trust me, it's harder than anyone I've been with in the ring, sparring or real fight. So I think he's really good. I think he goes on to have a fight, maybe O'Shaki Foster. They're talking about the WBC.
In Belfast.
In Belfast, Odyssey Arena. And for Leigh, I hope that's that.
Because I was super impressed with his performances, but I sort of qualified it by thinking Joe Cordina was struggling at the weights, and Josh Warrington was coming to the end of his career. And I was qualifying it by the thinking that maybe Cacace isn't quite what we've all made him out to be. In this fight, he was very good, wasn't he?
Absolutely. Listen, forget the fact that he gave up that IBF title to fight for defend the IBO title and all of that. You go at this stage of his career, he's looking for the big money fights, and the money that he was getting against Leigh Wood, rather than fighting Sugar Nunes. Yeah, and instead of fighting Nunes, who was a tough fight, but he was only going to get a fraction of the money. You go, he made the right decision there because he can still go back.
But you think Leigh Wood should call it a day now?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that the economics of these fights are such a level.
There was a massive deep push.
Why is it sigh?
Yeah. What do you think?
It's just sad to hear, isn't it? It's like Leigh Wood. Do you think he's done?
But do you know why I say that? Not because there's not fighting, he's still at a certain level.
Yeah.
But he's been there, seen it, done it. He's been a world champion. It's a fairy tale story in many ways because you looked at him like you go back to when he lost to Gavin McDonnell in 6 rounds.
And you would never
way back when you go, this kid's might not even make British level. And he's like, it is a fairy tale story. And you get to a stage where you go, you're not where you once was, and now you're going to. You don't want to be used as a pawn.
I suppose it depends what can be offered.
That's what.
I mean, ultimately, economically, I think both boys did well out of this fight, and they've done relatively well in their career. So there's no economic real necessity. It's depending upon what comes up and if it's a good fight.
And he will say, and he's got the built-in excuse. I tried to give it to him on Saturday. He didn't use it, but he will say, "I've been out the ring 19 months."
Yeah.
Like if that was a fresh 6-month Leigh Wood,
I tell you,
is it a different fight?
I tell you who someone that people might have wanted out of the ring for 19 months is the referee, because Frank Warren, ironically, have you seen this hypocrisy? This is the same Frank Warren that's complaining about the judging from Steve Gray, that was more than happy when he refereed Hamza Shiraz knocking down Bradley Skeet and punching him on the floor. Did you listen to that?
Was that Steve Gray?
That was Steve Gray. That was frankness. When I was making a song and dance about the fact that Bradley Skeet had been unfairly treated and this, that and the other. No. Now Frank's got the arsehole because he's scoring it.
Simon, it's horrendous.
It was horrendous what happened to Bradley Skeet when that one made a big deal.
How Steve Gray had Leigh Wood up 2 rounds.
Well, we did, to be fair.
We did.
How did he have Leigh Wood up 2 rounds?
Again,
what are you seeing? What are you watching?
Very strange.
Right, I scored that. I think I had it. It was 5-3 up at the point of stoppage here, but it could have quite easily been 6-2. I went 1 round with Wood that was very close, and I just thought, I'm going to go with Wood because the margins were going too wide, too early in some of the swing rounds.
You spoke to Frank, the aforementioned Frank Warren, so let's have a listen to what you guys discussed.
Listen, a little birdie told me, I heard whispers that Billy Joe Saunders, he may be making a return. Have you heard anything?
He came up to see me a couple of weeks ago, and we had a chat. We'll see what happens.
Light heavyweight?
He feels, after a couple of fights, he feels he can get down. We'll see.
There's no way Billy Joe Saunders is getting back in the ring. I saw Billy Joe Saunders 18 months ago, who told me he was going to be back at 175 in December 2023. And he looks like he swallowed an alga.
Do you know what?
He's not getting back.
Do you know what
in the
it
ring,
is? Billy's at that stage of his...
And I like Billy Joe.
Billy's at that stage of his life where he's been retired a couple of years now and he's got that boxing itch and he's going... But the reality is, he doesn't financially need it. He's financially secure. He's been out in Tenerife. He's been on that training camp. He's been trying to lose weight. And it's too difficult. Sometimes you've got to accept that it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And you need to focus your direction or energy somewhere else. I'm not sure we'll see him back. Billy, by the way, tells me, because I spoke to him as well.
What do you think he weighs right now?
He's coming.
When you saw that, what do you think? That picture of him...
17.
210.
210?
Yeah. 17. Right, is that 210?
No, that's about 50. 210 is about 15 stone 4, isn't it?
Yeah, about 15. Yeah, 15 is on 4.
All right, so we agree on 16 then. We all agree on 16.
Let's go 16.
But what I'm saying is,
there's no way he's making one.
But he's saying he is, by the way. This is not like, I'll just throw that out there. He truly thinks he is definitely coming back.
But you boxers are always a bit crazy.
I sat in the upfront studio with Billy 15, 16 months ago, where he categorically, unequivocally, irrefutably, undeniably said, I will be coming back and I'm going to fight at light heavy.
Yeah.
At 175.
And September is that proposed date.
I tell you what was interesting is the fact that apparently Frank Warren and Ben Shalom are speaking. I thought they couldn't stand the sight of one another. But they are speaking, apparently, about a potential fight between Moses Atuma and Martin Bakole. What say we?
Do you know what? Because
that's so risky.
It's a good fight.
That is so
coming
risky.
at 300 odd pounds.
For Moses.
For Moses.
I think that's so risky for Moses.
You think it's risky for Moses?
Yeah, I do. I think Bacoli
No,
right
of course
now.
it is not.
I think we're almost thinking because Bacoli £300. I'm telling you, if somehow that guy can get a nutritionist and get down to 275, I still think is a problem.
Will he?
Probably not. That's the issue.
He won't.
He just likes his food.
Yeah,
he just likes his food.
He's going to come in and do what he does.
Well, Billy Nelson's saying if he doesn't get that nutritionist and that dietitian on board, then it's got to be over.
I'm not working.
Yeah, because because if he does, this is the thing. When you go Moses, who for me is one of the best prospects in the world.
But let's be clear about what Frank Warren is in this regard. He doesn't make bad fights, and he doesn't matchmake young prospects like Moses Toma without knowing potentially what the likely outcome is going to be. So I don't think there's a parallel universe with a commodity and a prospect like this that Frank's going to put him in against somebody that he doesn't think he's going to get an outcome. I know that nothing is guaranteed in life.
Right.
But Bacoli's currency, we were, tub thumping and, banging that drum about him for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months, and he's put in a silly performance against Joseph Parker, which was all about money and now Gucci flip-flops, it would seem. And he didn't do the job against the Jagba, did he?
Yeah, but I've got to be honest, that you say he put in a silly performance out there.
He just took the money, Spence, and it's holding
but
back.
what I'm saying is, it's because of lifestyle, the shape the guy's in. He is an exceptional talent, but you can't be walking around at £300, or it's £310 he boxed Parker. How's he only lost £10 going into a fight where
he doesn't want to lose weight? He doesn't want to
indulge me.
lose
If this
weight.
fight were to happen, which is what which is what Frank was ruminating on, who picks who? I pick a Toma.
Bacoli.
Bacoli.
No, man, Bacoli.
There's not in that condition, but there's a big difference.
But that's the condition. You have to go off the condition.
I'm going on the Bacoli that fought Jared Anderson 284.
He's not around no more though, is he?
284. He can get that. 299. He can get down to 284.
Yeah, so
he can get to 284. There's a big jump from Dempsey McKean to Bacoli. I thought Bacoli's a big.
But he's not.
Where are you going?
Moses is fast.
Moses is incredible, but that's a jump.
Fast.
So what would your prediction be?
I'll go with Moses. It is a potential banana skin fight. Like Bacoli against Jared Anderson, it was Jared Anderson's job to show I'm the new hype heavyweight and get Bacoli out of there. Going back, it was Daniel's job to defeat Joyce and show I'm the new one coming out there. These things go wrong. These things, they do go wrong.
Fair enough. Good
but
point.
I do think Moses will be in a difficult one, but he can pull it out the back. He can grow that day. He can show that day.
You have to go with Moses.
What do you mean you have to go with Moses?
Recent performances, 2 performances, he come in ridiculously overweight. Not saying he's not an exceptional talent, but you have to go on recent performances. He had his chance to put it right against the Jaguar and lose that weight, and he didn't. So I go Moses.
You have to go with £300. Stop sitting 280 pounds.
Even 299 against the Jaguar, which is severely overweight.
What happens if he comes in at £300 against Moses? Where do you put your money then?
Right, let's spend some time talking about you, Viddal. Recent performance against Chev Clark. You must be pretty pleased with yourself.
Yeah, man. No, I was happy with the performance. Happy to be British champion. Done it in my hometown. Done it against an Arsenal fan. It was, man. It felt good. It felt good.
How did they let that Arsenal track?
No, it's
Tottenham, mate. What was going on there?
I'm glad they did. Kind
of gave you an extra incentive.
He came into Tottenham doing this Arsenal thing, so I used the Arsenal weapons and defeated him.
Nice.
I hope Viddal don't mind me saying, but me and Viddal go to the same gym sometimes.
Yeah. I saw you on the Monday that week.
So I saw Viddal and his trainers in the gym as well. And I just watch Viddal from a distance, just doing his strength and conditioning. It's so good to sometimes, I don't disturb him, just go and watch him, what he's doing. It's incredible to watch. And sort of on fight week, I must have spoke to Viddal and he said, look, I can make this as tough as I want or easy as I want. And me respecting Chev the way I do, I was like, it's a bit of a stretch there.
Yeah, I was like, are you sure?
I was like, are you sure, mate? I was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Honestly, that's why I rated the performance so high, because I rate Chev so high still.
Same.
And that's why I thought it was a fantastic performance. And I did say, if Viddal isn't in the mix in 12 to 18 months with the very best in the division, something's gone wrong somewhere. That's how high.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I want to just focus on the performance against Chev Clark and ask you what you particularly liked about Viddal's performance.
The way that he could adapt, because going into that fight, we all thought it was a 50-50 fight, going off Chev Clark's European challenge where he lost on that split decision, and you go, he's going to drag Viddal into deep waters and turn it into a dogfight, which is a fight that he likes. But Viddal stayed very disciplined. He was creating that space, picking the shots really well. Look at that right-hand move. Look at that foot movement. And that is important that you have that sort of thing. You've got a game A and a game B. You've got to have that B plan as well. And Viddal proved that he had that. Yeah, we've always known that he's got the ability, but you don't know, until you see things. And on paper, this was a real 50-50. And Viddal showed that he could adapt and make a potentially hard fight quite easy. And I'll tell you one other thing that I really liked, and I think I mentioned this to you, Viddal, as well. I think it was the 11th or maybe even the 12th round. Yeah. He pinged you with a right hand.
He did.
And I've been in that 12th round, and when you get hit and you're tired like that, I go, he showed a lot of character there, because you didn't show it. You disguised it very well. You kept your game together, didn't go on your bike, still carried on. But I knew that you was like you. I go. He's felt that down to the sole of his boots.
No, it was a good shot, man.
That is a great character as well. Like, because other fighters can unravel off that, especially that late on in the fight.
You know, when he hit me with the shot, it's like it hit me right here, and then I heard the crowd, and they were like, "Ooh!" And then even my dad was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "No, I'm all right." When you watch it back, you see me talking, because I'm like, "No, I'm good." But for me, it's just exciting. You know, my style. You know, people want to paint the brush, he's not as exciting as you could be, whatnot. But I like the combat of it. I just have skill. If you can force me into the combat of it, you will see me fight. But it's not my job to help you in your game plan.
But no one knew you. Obviously, you and your team.
Yeah, but no one has seen it.
Like what I'm saying is because no one's seen it, because you've been that aggressive guy that comes forward and you knock fighters out. But when you get to a certain level, you go, hold on a minute, I can't do that now. And that's when you know you can kick on and propel to another level, because you have the ability to be able to go, right, I can make a hard fight easy. Where some fighters go in there and they make every fight hard.
Yeah, that's not the way to do it.
And I think that it's shown that you have that ability.
Can I ask you about your relationship with Anthony Joshua? Yeah. I mean, Spencer's best mate. What's that about?
Oh, I'm part of 258 management.
Right.
So, you know, that's obviously AJ's company.
How did you develop that relationship?
This is actually, I haven't said this in years, but when I was on the development team at Team GB, he was still training the early stages of his professional career.
Right.
And I missed the train back to London. And then he was like, "Oh, where in London?" I was like, "Oh, Tottenham." He said, "Well, I live northwest, I can drop you back." And I was like, "No, that's all right." And he was like, "No, I'll drop you. I'll drop you." So that's the first time where
little things like that.
And I was 17. I was 17, and it's crazy that he said, and I remember I was in the car with him when he got the call about the Klitschko fight going to happen.
Wow.
I was actually in the car at that
crazy.
time.
Yeah.
So that's when the relationship first developed. And then after leaving previous management, I looked forward and I said, who is a part of big events? Who has been a part of some of the biggest British boxing events in recent years? 258 AJ. So if anyone's going to guide me and advise me in that direction, they're the people to do it.
I mean, you're now inside the top 15 with the WBO. What's on your horizon? The European champion, what's his name? Leonardo Mosquera?
That would be a great fight. I'm very open to that fight. I'm willing to go.
Is that something you'd be mandating
that would be nice.
Ben to go and get for you?
That would be brilliant. I've just, you know what it is, Simon? Like, you know that this game, I hate setting my mind in concrete about what's happening next, because you have to reverse your mind when it doesn't happen. I just want to make sure I at least defend my belt, and if I'm not defending it, I'm heading upwards.
Will you give Isaac Chamberlain an opportunity?
I thought of that. I thought of Isaac Chamberlain.
You know, it's because them two have so much friction. It's crazy.
I say it straight. I'm not fighting Isaac unless I'm heavily compensated for it, because he's bringing nothing to the table. When we first was going to have the fight, everyone was questioning, can I fight at that level up? That's what he brought to the table. It was officially stated that I was defending my English title against him. He pulled out of that fight. I've gone on to win the British title, and then I'm supposed to just keep allowing you an opportunity. Unless I'm subsidised heavily for it, I don't see why I should look in his direction.
It's a smart one, this one. Where do you think you are? And we can answer, I don't know if you've got the balls to say it to him, where do you think he is in conjunction with someone like Chris Billam-Smith?
I think he beats Billam-Smith.
You do you?
I think he beats.
Is that because you're sitting next to him?
I'm putting my weight down.
No.
Chris?
No. I think Chris has gone to the mountaintop. I think Chris has proven himself. I do think Chris maybe look, Chris proved something against Brandon Glanton, I think, but I think Chris is on the way down. I don't mean it to be disrespectful compared to where he was a couple of years ago. It's the wear and tear of his wars. Chris is always in a war. I think Viddal's on the ascendancy. So it's a case of, has Chris dropped enough for Viddal to get him? And I think.
Do you agree with that, Spence?
Well, I was gonna ask Viddal. Yeah, look, Chris Billam-Smith how far away do you see yourself from fighting Chris Billam-Smith? No, Chris is still he's still a world-class cruiserweight for sure. Where do you see yourself? That was a question I sort of...
Yeah. It's something that could be within 3 fights. Billam is not on my hit list, I'll be honest. He's not. And I'm not on his either. I know he wants to...
That's a nice question.
Mosquera,
Jack
the
Massey?
European. Massey would be good as well. These are people that I do see as the future opponents. Billam can be. I know he doesn't want to be because he wants to stay where he is. And for me to fight him, I need to get to where he is rather than a regression to me.
And when you look at the top of the division, very quickly before we finish this section, you've got Jaya Pataya, you've got Zudo Ramirez, and you've got the champion in recess, no longer in recess, Badu Jack. These are all fighters that you think that you're going to reach that level to?
100%. I say 12 to 18 months. I need a few of these names that we've been talking about. These are tough fights, good fights, learning fights, experience building fights. After I've had 2-3 more of them, I don't see why not.
So given we've got a British champion in the studio, let's talk about some British fighters. There's rumours going around, and I'm trying to pick the bones out of this myself, but I'll throw it to you guys, that Callum Smith versus Anthony Yarde is potentially a fight in August as part of the 5v5 in Saudi. What do we think about that as a fight?
I love that fight. For both of the guys, because obviously the winner kicks on, gets that world title shot. But I think it's like a great... You could call it a final eliminator in many ways, really. And I think that Yarde...
Why does Callum Smith win that fight? I mean, Callum Smith is, after beating Boazzi, he's put himself in a position where he should be getting a world title shot. Yeah. Because of the construct of the division and who's fighting who, he can't get that.
No.
Anthony Yarde...
Benavidez is the next best fight.
Exactly.
He should be running. Callum Smith should be running straight to Benavidez.
Yeah, but
that's the one I think. Yeah. You've got to be confident. But
no one runs straight to Benavidez.
But you listen
Callum Smith.
Paul Smith's been on this show.
Callum Smith will.
And Paul's always spoken about the fact that Callum wants a world title shot. And that's the world title shot right there.
Commercial value, though, it says that Anthony Yarde is going to get well paid for that, and Callum Smith would start a favourite in that fight, going off recent form. Callum Smith starts
on the back of the last 2 Yarde performances.
Whilst you're waiting for the opportunity. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, on the back. I think in fairness to the last performance from Anthony, what we saw was a nearer version, because we saw the 2 fights previously with Lyndon. The first fight wasn't a true reflection of Anthony Yarde, and the second fight probably wasn't a true reflection of Lyndon Arthur. You saw them get closer to their real levels.
Lyndon looked really good.
Lyndon looked really good.
Yeah.
Even seeing him walking around the hotel and just the shape that he was in, he put the work.
He was with those boxing science guys in Sheffield.
Where does it, given if that is a direction of travel, where does this leave the currently vanquished Josh Boazzi? Where's Josh going now?
Getting pushed towards Ben Whittaker.
Yeah. Is that what you think?
I think so. I think it can happen. It can happen. If he's not in that mix of names, which is quite tight right now, that circle's quite tight. If you're thinking of what's huge outside of that, we're looking at a Wembley Arena set.
Do you agree with that? Do you agree that Josh Boazzi's currency leads him towards Ben Whittaker?
He won't want that.
No, he won't want it. No, he won't want it.
He'll be like, well, 1 second, how have I been that close to the mountaintop and now I'm dropping back down to... I like Ben, but British level.
Yeah.
They probably think, 1 second, I should be fighting guys at the world level. And look, it was a fight of the year contender against Callum Smith. So should the drop off be that? Should it be that far down?
The problem is when you lose a fight of that magnitude and of that quality, you fall into that bracket where you go, I'm not coming with anything, so no one's going to want to fight me. So he's just got to hope that someone like Turkey comes in and goes, right, I want you against it. Because otherwise you go, for prospects for prospects that are coming through, and if you look at, like, say, Viddal Riley, and you're looking at the guys that are up there, you look at it and go, well, I don't really need that fight because it's a hard fight and I'm not getting anything from it.
Is Callum Smith Yarde commercially bigger than Yarde Boazzi?
No.
No.
I'm surprised we're still not going. I'm surprised we're still not going Yarde Boazzi.
No. But I think off the back of the Yarde, it is right now because Smith beat Boazzi in an absolute barnstormer.
In the community, no.
Do we still not want to see Yarde Boazzi? Is that done?
Of course.
Yeah, that's why I feel. That's why I almost feel like we should be seeing Callum Smith Benavidez and Yarde Boazzi.
No, but we're at a stage where you go, Am I right in saying this, Viddal? You got to go winner versus winner, not winner versus loser, and that's where you're at right now.
Can I? I mean,
So
you brought Ben Whittaker into the conversation. I'm going to take it off into that tangent for a second. I mean, he's your stablemates.
Yeah.
What did you make of his performance against Liam Cameron and the reaction afterwards, the emotional reaction afterwards?
I think he boxed really well against Liam Cameron.
Did his job, but he should have done in the first fight.
He done what he should have done in the first fight, but he done it with a lot of pressure, immense amount of pressure. Delivered, sharp, clean, good boxing. The reaction after was just an outburst of what he's been going through, I guess. He's been getting bullied, as we know. And I think when you can say, see, I told you so, in that moment, you just see red.
Okay, I've got to pull you on that. What do you mean bullied? Do you mean people have been critical?
Yeah, but you know, they call it bullying, cyberbullying.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, ultimately, he can take the praise. He's got to take some of the criticism.
Of course, I agree.
I think that was just a natural reaction.
It was he didn't calculate he was going to do that.
I think that was easily accepted. Hit that little outburst after. I totally understand that.
I've seen
don't think
1,000 times worse.
Oh, come on.
I've seen 1,000. I've seen people get out of the ring and fight people. It was just an outburst of emotion, as you say.
And he probably didn't expect to win that soon and that quickly. You know, he probably
Everyone was
I'd have to
questioning
prove down the stretch that I don't get tired. He was probably thinking that. So to hit him that early, you get him going, referee jumped in, it's overwhelming.
And let's not forget as well, Simon, immediately after the outburst, he went and apologised.
Oh, I've got a property outburst. I've got a property outburst.
I know you don't, yeah.
Because I think that the corner turned around and called him a quitter, and so he gave it to the corner.
Yeah.
I got no problem with it. And all the nonsense that was always spat, and he didn't spit at anybody. He went over there and gave it to the corner. He didn't give it to his opponent. He gave it to the people that he was effectively saying to, you had no right to say that about me.
Yeah.
And here, by the way, here's the outcome. I wanted to ask you about two cruiserweights that have vacated the division because you're in it, but two cruiserweights that have gone up to heavyweight in Richard Riakporhe and Lawrence Okolie. I mean, when you look at them and what their opportunities are for them, who do you think is going to fare best in the heavyweight division from these two guys?
Lawrence. I think Lawrence has a better chance.
Because you used to spar him, right?
Yeah, not just because I used to spar him. I sparred Richard as well, but I just think Lawrence... He's just weird. He's just got a weird style. He hits really hard. He's going to hit even harder now that he's comfortable at the weight. And he's just a difficult fight for anyone. Whereas Richard is a physical specimen, but he doesn't have that air of awkwardness.
So you think Okolie's a better fighter than Riakporhe?
Yeah. He's been a world champion. We have to say he's a better fighter.
Sure.
But that awkwardness and power you can compare it to Deontay in a way where you can go all the way. If you've got better fundamentals, you're solid, but you're easy and basic to read, you know...
Where are you on this conversation?
I like both, but I think Lawrence has just got more as a heavyweight. Richard's actually really a bridgerweight, and I know we hate that division. He's put on so much size just to try and compete with the big boys. And I've been around Lawrence trying to make cruiserweight, and he's grumpy, it's a tough weight cut, as it is for all these guys. At heavyweight, he's smiling, he's confident, he's calling out everyone. Like, he's been calling out... Remember how he was a couple of years ago when the Dillian Whyte fiasco happened? And he kind of went into the shell like, oh, okay. Now he's calling out Dillian Whyte, he's active.
He's comfortable in his own skin now because making cruiserweight, I've got to say, man, was horrendous for him. He was a heavyweight in a cruiserweight body there. He was. But he's a natural heavyweight, and I think that he's going to be a problem in the heavyweights for sure.
Agreed.
Right, that's it for episode 120 of Talk Boxing. Thanks, Spence. Thanks, Ade. And of course, Viddal, good luck.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time we're out.